Hello one and all, and welcome to Behind the Glass, your weekly automotive podcast hosted by two rather uninformed enthusiasts.
No.
I'm Sam from the YouTube channel Seen Through Glass.
I'm Tony from Gravelwood Car Sales.
And you can watch us each week. We hope you enjoy the episode. Just in case we've gained a new audience since you last appeared on the show.
Yeah.
How would you best describe who you are and what you do?
Dosser.
I'm very good at portraying that, Tony.
Yeah, really good.
I basically banked a whole bunch of bed selfies during COVID, and then every now and again I'll just send him one at 1 p.m. being like, busy Thursday. And Tony believes it every single time.
Because he would forward them to me saying, do you know Tony, do you know Paul's still in bed?
The best way to describe me, I run all of the social medias for Supercars of London.
Sure.
I mess around with a camera, and I'm an idiot on camera.
I mean, that's a pretty good description.
Yeah,
It's bang on.
Bang on.
Bang on. Well, welcome back. Yeah, Paul and I used to do an F1 podcast here on Behind the Glass. That has died a death with Max Verstappen's dominance of the sport. No, I joke. It died a death because we're basically too busy. We're never in the same place at the same time. So whilst Tony and I were able to commit to doing these weekly episodes, Paul and I being able to commit to doing a season-long's worth coverage of F1, it just never worked out, right? We
That
were
shows
always
how
cancelling
busy
each other.
I am and how unbusy Tony is.
Yes, very good point. Yeah.
Or I just
He's
manage
the
my
one-
time a lot better than you.
He's the one that calls me up. Oh, mate, I'm so busy. And I'm looking down at my phone. We've been on the phone for an hour and 5 minutes. In that time, I've edited a video and been in a meeting.
Yeah, but that's because it's nice to put a bit of time for your friends every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nice to do that. It's an hour out of my life.
That you're not going to get
once
back.
every 3 months. Like, what, you're right. I'm never going to get back. You're right. Sometimes I put the phone down and I think, bloody hell, what the hell did we just talk about? I mean, I didn't take anything from this conversation. We just go round in circles for an hour and then go, I'll speak to you in a couple of months.
Usually about how you've wound him up.
It's pretty much our lives. Well, anyway, yeah, it's good to have Paul back to kickstart, as I say, season 7, and this aim to have a few more guests. Obviously, Paul is a returning guest and a familiar face to many of you, but it's been a while since he's been on, and it felt like safe ground to start this new season to implement having a third voice on some of these episodes. We wanted to start softly because
Right. Do you want me to
sometimes
speak softly?
well, we could. So,
ASMR.
yeah, hello, welcome to
That's
a very
therapy,
different
Sam.
kind of podcast.
No therapy.
That's when we're sponsored by BetterHelp once more time. So, look, we've got lots to discuss. Not only what you've been up to, where you've been, what you've been driving, etc. But I think we've got to get straight into it because Charles Leclerc won the Monaco Grand Prix. And considering we used to do an F1 podcast and the fact that, well, Charles Leclerc won the Monaco Grand Prix, it has to be discussed. So did both of you watch the race?
Nope.
No, I watched highlights.
Great. Is that because you went, Monaco Grand Prix, it's going to be dead, or did you genuinely have other commitments that...
I was in a wedding ceremony that started at 2 p.m.
How rude. How inconsiderate. Tony, what
Well, I
was
was
your
watching
excuse?
some proper racing, some local racing, and not the
Oh, yeah?
Some
not
grassroots.
not
Grass-
not a
grassroots.
possession. I
What
didn't
was it,
watch a
Clio
possession.
Cup?
I
Brand-
watched some.
Brands Hatch?
I watched some proper crashes and everything.
F4 you went to see, right?
F4 and British GT. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually quite cool.
It was good? Racing was good?
Well, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
Medium.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say too much, mate.
How many drivers did you look at thinking, I could be faster than them?
In the British GT,
All of them.
nearly all of them, apart from the pros. Obviously not the pros.
Anyone in a Porsche, I'll be faster than.
How many, what's the pro to am ratio?
Roughly 2 seconds a lap.
No, but how many pros, how many ams?
Half and half in British
Oh,
GT.
literally, okay, fine.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but there is a real noticeable difference to when the AM's back round and then when the pros get in.
Well, if it's 2 seconds, then yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but you can see it in the car. Like you
Fine.
can literally see how it's like, I'd sit and watch the pros all day, but I can't watch the AMs.
And British GT, how does it work? Will a team hire a pro and then get an AM to pay in, or do they pay a pro? Like who's paying
so
who?
as far as I understand, the AM basically pays for everything.
Yeah.
So, and quite often the pros in British GT, a lot of them are factory drivers. So they probably have to go to the manufacturer and say, can we have your driver? And they'll pay the manufacturer because the pro driver's under contract, obviously. So there is some legit pro drivers in the series. So, and the AMs have obviously got way too much money because it's expensive. I bet it's £1 million a year to do it.
And what cars? What cars are taking part?
Well, it's GT3 cars. So it's Mercs, McLarens,
Ferrari.
There is I think there's a Ferrari in there. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, BMW.
Sure.
Lambo.
And then there's the Hurricane as well.
Is that what James from DK did last year?
James has done a lot of it, and actually,
fine.
to be fair to him, he was one of the fast lads in the the AM section.
Sure.
So yeah, he can pedal. To be fair,
I think he was out at WEC. I think he was in Qatar.
He is now at WEC.
Yeah. He's doing something else now.
Last year, I think he was British GT or like 2 years ago. Anyway, I can't.
You got GT4 as well, so obviously they run GT3 and GT4 at the same time, and it's a 3-hour endurance race.
Artura GT4.
Yeah,
Artura GT4. That's your vibe, is it?
Vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Artura in general.
Do you like that car?
Yeah, I really liked
like
it.
that car as
Yeah.
well. I just think it makes sense, but then the thing is, you still don't see them, do you?
No, I know.
Hasn't translated.
And then we
really.
spoke. I remember when they first came out and appeared on the second-hand market, and they were what 190, or were they even over 200?
Yeah, over 200. Yeah,
and you were saying, oh, they're
like 140, 150 now. Yeah,
Arturas?
Yeah, as a used car. Yeah,
I'm watching them, son.
I'm going shopping.
yeah.
Because I remember when I did the loan last year, texting you saying it's an unbelievable car.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the delays or what, but there just seems to be zero confidence in it. I was supposed to be driving the Spider in Monaco in like two weeks' time, which I guess will be spectacular as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
There's some quick lads in the F4 as well, by the way, in some of the in the F4 racing. Obviously,
How young is the F4 drivers?
Well, the really quick lad, he's 16.
Wow.
Yeah, he's 16. So Dan, really good friend of mine, he's been thrown at the deep end. And he's improving like every time he's improving. He done a bit of testing last year, and then they decided that they're going to do a whole year. Essentially, he's gone for proper team Fortec, which is a very well known team, been in it forever, a very professional team, right across the.
They go up to. Do they do F2 or they definitely do F3? Don't they?
Do F3.
Yeah.
They do FIA as well. So you've got
what's FIA?
You've got FIA F4 and then FIA F3, and then you've got GBF. And GB.
Yes, sorry. Okay,
F3.
fine. Yeah, fine. So So you have national championships and then international championships.
Correct. Yeah,
so Do you have? Do you have national F3 though? I think it's only international F3, right?
International, yeah. So there's obviously a level difference. So the British, the GB F4 is like the start. It's the bottom.
Then you can do European and then you can do international.
Correct. Yeah, and then you. Once
they're all FIA, aren't they? They're all
no.
The GB's not an FIA season.
No. And then you've got because you've got FIA GB4, which was at Snetterton.
But that's just is it not just the international class? It's not still an FIA category. The Formula 4 GB is an FIA category.
Yeah.
But fine. So national, European, international. And then F3, I think it's just international. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, hold on a second. We have an FIA spokesperson in the room with us.
Absolutely not.
We do.
Sponsored by.
Paul, please inform us. What are
I'm sat here in the middle just trying to spin the 2 little brain cells that I've got going around at this time in the morning going, I mean, what you're saying sounds like it makes sense.
I'm pretty sure.
I can imagine
my keyboard going.
It's the FIA regulations across the whole of F4 or even F3. There you go. Look, FIA Formula 3.
Yeah, so that Formula 3. Oh, yeah, we need to talk about Solov, by the way. A big Bulgarian lad came up and won in Monaco.
Wow.
I'm going to fly that flag.
Yeah, of course.
FIA Formula 3 Championship. I just don't think that there's anything but an international series. Okay.
Yeah.
So Formula 3 is definitely just the international. Formula 4.
There's a GB and then there's a FIA one. There's 2.
So British Formula 4 by Rocket.
But it's still FIA.
It's still FIA. Yeah, fine.
Because
there must be quite a few because there's a US category and everything.
Yeah. But it's called
Italy, Japan, UK, China, Mexico, Australia, Spain, US, Malaysia. I think it's called the Formula 4 British Series, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
FIA Formula 4, also called FIA F4.
Yeah.
Fine. Well, we cleared that up. British Formula 4. There we go. We all struggled a little bit.
But it's good.
It's good. Good fun.
It's good. It's good fun, and Danu, our sponsor as well, he's doing well, to be fair. So he's been thrown in the deep end because he's done a bit of testing, and then he's literally gone into the series. So he's getting quicker every week. So
good lad.
Yeah, fair play to him.
Well, he's not as quick as Charles Leclerc. Yes, coming full circle. And we do need to touch more on the fact that Paul is an FIA ambassador or presenter or whatever you are. But yeah, Charles Leclerc. Now, neither of you watched, so I don't think you missed much. I mean, it was one of those classic Monaco Grand Prix, right, where throughout the race you thought, that's quite spicy. This could go somewhere. Firstly, we had this massive shunt on the first lap.
Saw the crash.
Crash was quite insane.
Seen it from multiple angles.
And even before the red flag, Piastri was all over the back of Leclerc. You're thinking, here we go. And then they red flagged it. You thought, I can't wait for this to get going. And genuinely, for what felt like most of the race, the front four, Sainz, Leclerc, Piastri, Norris, were basically running all together. And there was only ever, it felt like a couple of seconds splitting them. And you sort of thought, oh, it's all going off here. And it never did, because Monaco. And actually, behind them, it was fairly dead. But it didn't seem to really matter because I think in Monaco, all you want are the good news stories, right? That's what makes it good. If it's a predictable championship leader, Paul, you're like, okay, whatever. But the years that Ricciardo wins, when he's down on power, but he's making up for that lost victory, for when Hamilton sort of does the same thing, but maybe it's not such a good story. But, all these moments where the underdog comes through, it's what you want. And Leclerc seemed to have this Monaco curse where he was never going to win his home Grand Prix. And you text, actually, when he got pole on the Saturday, you said, hands down, he's never going to win it tomorrow.
I put money on Carlos Sainz.
Oh, you bastard. I stayed quiet because I don't want to endorse the curse. And he bloody came through and did it. And he kept his head down. And look, I think it was fantastic to see and super cool. I'm not going to get too carried away by it. He was in pole and he kept his head down, kept in it. Did a good race, got the victory.
I think you can get ahead of yourself because in historic times, he's either led or been up there and overdriven. Or the pressure's got to him.
Fair. Yeah, pressure's got to him. I think it's Leclerc's potential weakness over the last few years. Yeah. He tends to sometimes overdrive. Mistakes creep in. And this could have been one of those moments where he dropped it at a pit stop or just clipped a curve.
It's not just him as well. Ferrari are very capable of messing up a strategy.
Well, historically.
Exactly.
Since old Fred Vasseur stepped in.
Yeah.
Jesus walks amongst men, people. So look, I think it was good. But for me, the biggest story, not only the emotions of Leclerc finally doing it, and I've long said, I think when Hamilton finally goes, Leclerc probably is my guy. I do love Oscar Piastri, though. Anyway, long story short, it actually set up, if you look at it on paper,
I agree,
quite a decent first third of the year. At times, we were like, Verstappen's is going to walk in. It's another dead year. Look at the championship standings now.
I think the second half is actually going to be quite interesting.
I'm not going to get that excited.
Oh, no, I am. I'm always the optimist when we're talking about F1. You're always glass half empty.
I'm always glass half empty because I hate the disappointment. I don't want to be all like, we've got a season on our hands and then it'll fall apart. But what we have seen is that Red Bull is a tiny bit more vulnerable than it was last year. 100%. Max can't always extract the maximum out of it.
And also, when it doesn't go his way, he's still a bit toys out the pram.
Or maybe just it's not more vulnerable. The other cars have just caught up. Because that's just what happens.
There's an element of that. Yeah. And the bigger point is that we've got Ferrari and McLaren catching up or have caught up. I wouldn't say caught up yet.
No, they're not.
We've had one race where he retired and then 2 or 3 races where the other... Monaco is unique, so I'm not going to suddenly say, oh my God, Ferrari faster than Red Bull.
Miami's car was damaged.
Miami's car was damaged. He was leading pretty much the whole race until that moment and a bit of a dodgy safety car call anyway. And Imola, he still won, and you got the feeling it's all ifs and buts. Like, how much was he still in control of that race?
Yeah.
Everyone said, one more lap, Lando would have done it. Would he?
Yeah.
No.
Was Max not just completely kind of control?
So you have to give Max. He's not the driver he was. By the way, I know he's hot-headed. Wait a minute. I know he's hot-headed.
I thought you meant he wasn't as good as he was last year.
No. This is what I mean. He's probably better now. He's more matured. He's more. He's learnt. He's not Max of 5 years ago where he'd get
It's almost like
angry
he
and
cares less, which has made him better.
he'll still win the championship by over 100 points because I think he's still cruising, mate.
100.
Yeah. Honestly, mate.
I wouldn't say he's cruising because I do think if you look at the car this year, he's definitely been unhappier with the car, vocally unhappier with the car. He's definitely having to drive, I think he's definitely having to work a little harder at race pace and lap time than he was last year. I think last year he was literally like just mind off. And if you think about it in Miami, okay, the car was damaged, but he genuinely couldn't catch Lando at that pace. In Imola, whether he was cruising or not, Lando did reel him in. Previously, Max wouldn't have allowed that to happen. He would just still have been ahead by 30 odd seconds. In Monaco, okay, fine, he couldn't overtake, but his pace was generally enough for sixth on the grid. I don't think he's as switched off. I do agree that push comes to shove. I'm not doubting for a second he's not going to clean up on the championship, but I don't think he's as cruise control as he has been the last year and a half.
I think the only time he gets fluttered, Max, is when Lewis is behind him. I think that's the only time because I think he still thinks that him and Lewis and Alonso are really the only two that can really, really push him. I think he genuinely thinks he doesn't care about the rest of them behind him, essentially. I think his real threat he thinks is still Lewis and possibly Alonso if he's got the car.
He's not done much racing with Alonso, has he? We haven't seen too much Verstappen versus
I don't
Alonso.
think he's done that much racing this season, as in like on track.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of wheel-to-wheel stuff.
Yeah.
I think he has a good go with Russell. I think Russell gets a bit argy-bargy, elbows out with everyone, which tends to lead to a few accidents here and there because he's sometimes a bit like, here I come!
Usually on the last lap.
Yeah, usually on the last lap. But I think, there's been a few clashes between him and Verstappen.
Well, he's better than Russell, isn't he, Verstappen?
Yeah.
I would say at the
100%,
moment, 100%. But I think the point being is that in terms of that wheel-to-wheel action, we have seen that Charles had his moment, but it looked like Verstappen probably kind of knew how to handle Charles just about, and it was very clean and fair racing, where with Russell seemed to have that same mentality as a Hamilton or Alonso, which was like, hold on a sec, mate.
Yeah.
Because I think Russell has a lot of self-belief. So I think in those situations,
too much sometimes. I mean, fair play to him. I would probably be the Russell of Formula One. I'd literally be so slow, but think that I'm better than everyone else.
Do you think Russell's so slow?
No. I don't think he's slow, but he really does think he's better than he is.
Oh, that's a big call.
No, honestly, mate, I probably think there's definitely 4 or 5 drivers on the grid better than him.
Do you think self-confidence is not a big part of the game, though?
No, it is, and obviously more so when you're. But I think there's a way, and I think you have to back it up, don't you? And he hasn't done anything really to back it up.
Would Russell outperform Sainz in the Ferrari if Russell was in Sainz's Ferrari?
I don't think so. I think they'd be close.
It's so hard with Sainz. He's so good. But is his raw pace there? That's the part that's.
I think Russell is quicker than Sainz.
I think Russell's quicker than Sainz.
In equal cars, yeah.
I think on a pole lap, if it was equal cars, I would put Verstappen, Leclerc, and Russell pretty level for pole pace, and maybe Piastri in there now. I genuinely think those 4 for single lap pace.
Yeah, Piastri's a monster.
Are probably there.
What about Lando?
I wouldn't put him for single lap pace, no, because Piastri's been out qualifying him fairly consistently since he joined the team. I mean, that's probably not statistically, but if you look at it, Piastri's come into that team and been right on Lando's pace. So I think single lap pace, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Piastri. Race pace, I would agree that there's quite a few other drivers that maybe would beat Russell in a similar car, but I mean, that's not how Formula 1 works. Anyway. It was a great emotional time. I cried. I was very happy. And
you cried?
He went to sleep in that Ferrari jacket that he got from Thailand.
That says Ferrari on the back. Yeah. It was a great time. Anyway, let's move on from Formula 1. We hinted at the fact that you are our FIA spokesperson here on the podcast.
Definitely not.
But there is some truth to that. So tell everyone what's been going on. And if they haven't seen the videos, if they haven't know what's going on, you put out this video being like, I got my dream job. And you've been traveling the world, attending a lot of WEC races, right?
I've done one WEC.
You've done one WEC. Okay,
in Qatar, yeah.
What has been going on? What is this FIA gig that you've been chatting about?
Honestly, one of the coolest things that I've done since starting my YouTube channel, because it started out as exploring the different motorsports and disciplines that the FIA are involved with. And it started in Monaco for the Eco Rally, which is essentially EV cars or sort of carbon neutral cars that it's an efficiency run, which we all know on the Supercars of London channel. It's a weird niche, but I love the efficiency
Electric cars.
Electric cars,
I'm
yeah.
going to sleep.
But from that, what I realised was there's this complete, almost unknown world of motorsport that hides behind Formula One. And whilst Formula One in recent years has been a little bit boring if you aren't a Max Verstappen fan, I'm sat there on the sofa having all of these questions about WEC, Le Mans, Formula E, and there's not really an opportunity to ask those questions. So between the FIA and myself, we came up with this series where I essentially am the fan learning new motorsports and meeting people that put them together, telling their untold stories, how they essentially put these race weekends together, how it's all regulated, how it's kept safe, but in a way that is so fascinating. So at the moment, I've done World Endurance Championship out in Qatar, Formula E for the Evo 3.5, no, the 3 Evo, which is kind of like the facelift Generation 3 car. Then I've recently done drag racing,
Oh my
which
God, that's wild.
blew my mind.
That's
And
Santa Pod.
Yeah.
I used to go there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
In my Subaru.
What, you used to break in? Cut the chains on the gates. And
I used to just go.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go the wrong way round though. I used to come down the bloody thing and end up in the bush.
And then I'm heading out to the Nürburgring soon for truck racing, which
That's
is going to
cool.
be
Truck racing.
That is a crash,
hilarious.
mate.
Isn't Mark
I'm
Webber?
not driving.
Oh, that's all
Isn't
right.
Mark Webber doing that this year?
I have no
I'm
idea.
sure Mark Webber's doing racing in a truck sponsored by Fat International, our mates up at Mankind.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I think so.
I mean, yeah, that is going to be
Wild.
absolutely bonkers.
Oh, mate, you can't get two trucks side by side around there.
Mate, of course you can. Is
Just
it
about.
Nordschleife or Nürburgring GP? It must be Nürburgring GP.
Good question.
It must be Nürburgring
It
GP.
can't
I
be
can't believe it's
Nordschleife, mate.
Nordschleife. Here we go. Back to the order.
Back to Google.
Fact check.
Because we really
Trusty fourth guest.
we really know what we're talking about.
But the one that I'm most excited about, and I know that I said this is all about kind of covering motorsports that aren't Formula One, I'm going to the Austrian Grand Prix,
Oh,
which
amazing.
I can't wait because I absolutely love that
Red
track.
Bull
Yeah, it
Ring.
looks like exactly, yeah.
We've been round there, haven't we, boy?
And we said
Nearly crashed.
Hey, look, Nürburgring.
there it is. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
it's not even the GP circuit. It's like a short
Yeah.
form of the GP circuit.
Well, actually, I mean, how many laps would they do, by the way, round the Nordschleife?
We're about to find out.
It's not the Nordschleife. Though,
Well,
mate.
thank God, yeah, because, I mean, they'd need another lorry to follow them around and keep filling them up.
We actually said that Austria, when we went to do the track day, we said that'd be one of the best Grand Prix to attend because it's so picturesque and actually
And
you can see
that
so much.
of the
Yeah.
track, yeah. So there I'm focusing on, I believe, the medical car. So it's not about the race.
That's cool.
I basically
That's
get
cool.
to meet the driver.
Who drives the medical car? Did you win it?
No idea.
Because it's Bernd Mailander that does the safety car.
Yeah.
But I don't know who does the medical car.
Yeah. So almost each weekend, there's usually a story or an untold story, as it's called, on paper before the weekend. And I can just go in there and ask questions as if I'm
Stupid
new
questions.
to the... Yeah, exactly. But I
Which
get the...
suits you perfectly.
You spent your life doing that.
So which one is the accelerator?
And I mean, I'm learning so much, and honestly, the drag racing it blew me away.
The thing is, right, like there'll be people screaming at their audio players or their screens
their
right
cars.
now in their cars because I think some of those early series you mentioned, they have such a diehard fan base. We saw it when we went to Le Mans.
I also did touring cars in Marrakesh.
Well, yeah, that's one of Tony's
Yeah.
favourites.
Yeah.
But just endurance championship in general, Le Mans, of course. You mentioned Formula E. Like, there's definitely pockets that are diehard about sports, maybe not Formula E so much, that get frustrated about how much coverage Formula One gets, and they'll
Yeah.
be saying like, "Oh, you're coming in saying it's unheard of motorsport, WEC. We love WEC." But I think your point being, truck racing, the medical car Formula 1.
Yeah.
Those parts interest me as a motorsport fan.
Yeah.
They're lesser spoken about. I know nothing about drag racing.
Yeah,
I remember I met a motorbike drag racer once. So they changed 4 gears in like a second.
Crash.
Yeah.
A huge crash.
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
laser pointed at his eye to tell him when to shift gear.
Yeah. You can start
Wild.
at 8.
You can start drag racing at 8.
Yep.
I mean, that is
Honestly,
What, 8
there was-
a.m. or 8 p.m.?
no, 8 years old.
there was
8 years old.
there was kids there getting into these cars that were literally like the same age as my niece and nephew.
Yeah, that's worrying, isn't it?
But
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
actually so cool was in one of the conversations that I had, hearing their perspective of seeing these kids getting in these cars and almost like feeling the speed and actually doing something where such a large percentage of the population of kids are on Fortnite, on TikTok, just sat inside. Like they see like a little bit of rain and they're like, oh, I'm not going outside. And here you have like these girls and boys that are coming up and seeing their idols going 350 mile an hour down a quarter of a mile. Like honestly, I've never seen a 4-wheel or 2-wheel vehicle accelerate like that. It's like 0 to 200 miles an hour in like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah,
That's a joke.
Yeah.
That is a joke.
Yeah.
And as a wider, bigger question for the audience, how does this sit for you in like future career prospects? So presenting,
I absolutely
like,
love it.
but
love
this is
it.
so you do this all for them, right? This is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Supercars of London content. This is
Yeah.
not Wallace PJW content. This is for the FIA.
Yeah.
And is that a move you're trying to make into more presenting? Did you seek this out? Did it come up and you thought, oh, I'll try that a bit? Like, how does this fit for the future of?
I'm always looking for like creative niches or new things to try and always like testing the waters. So I've done quite a lot of presenting before. I did an entire Mercedes campaign, which was presenting. And I remember I got a 19 page script a week before. I learnt it all thinking, well, this is exciting. Like I want to do
Take
a
it
good job.
seriously.
Got there, onto the shoot. First day landed in Malaga, and they said, there have been some revisions on the script. And I was like, right, here's the new one. And I was like,
Brutal.
wow.
Brutal.
Okay. So yeah, I got thrown into the deep end with that, but absolutely loved it because I think a lot of experiences now that I've driven a handful of supercars and I kind of feel like I could make a YouTube video on autopilot. And sometimes it does feel like I am on autopilot making a YouTube video, throwing myself out of my comfort zone, doing something that I've not done before, that feels like I can really throw myself at it and also like master a craft. And by no means am I a polished presenter. I've got almost zero experience, but at the same time, I can take a little bit of my learnings from making YouTube videos and then twist it into this FIA job, for example, or Mercedes. I've done 2 Mercedes presenting jobs. And there's also like pressure, but not the same pressure as making your own YouTube video for your own channel. And if you see it perform really well and you go, okay, I need to do more of that, versus it's almost like a lot of the decisions are taken out of my hands because it's not necessarily my responsibility to see how the video performs. And the one thing that I love with the FIA is truck racing, Formula E, they do have their own audiences, right? So you do get those diehard fans that want to tune in, they want to learn a little bit about the behind the scenes of that various motorsports. But at the same time, there are new people coming in and new eyeballs that might want to learn something about something else. And I feel like there's a service in trying to get the best out of the person that I'm interviewing to then get that best perspective from the motorsport.
Tony, I don't know if you'd agree, but there's an element there which sounds like the lack of pressure of self-employment, essentially, because what we do as YouTubers, it's trying to keep afloat, right? And our business runs on the last video.
Yeah.
Our whole business is the success of the last video, where actually by going and doing some presenting, it's losing something. It's a paid job, right? You're being hired.
Yeah.
So it would be like, Tony, you going to work for Sitner.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't think I would be personally very good at scripted stuff anyway. Have you done a lot of scripted stuff?
I have, and when I've tried to give you scripted stuff, so
Mate,
filming the intro for this podcast took us about 3 hours.
Mate, I can't
all
read.
you have to say is, I'm Tony from Gravelwood. I'd be like, hi everyone, I'm Sam from See the Glass.
What have I got to say again?
Yeah, but
I'm Tony Gravelwood.
the problem is I can't read. So I couldn't do a scripted.
No.
You're an off the cuff man.
Yeah,
You're all improv. You're an improv comedian.
I prefer to just pile in, really, and then
to be
worry
fair,
about
that Mercedes job was kind of because they were the ones in charge. I think with the FIA, I do get a lot of freedom and flexibility. I just normally write some sort of bullet points, double check that I've got the right thing to say, and they go, boom, let's go.
But I just think it's super interesting what you mentioned to say that lack of pressure, because the pressure on you then is to deliver as a presenter for them,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So all you're
Yeah.
trying to do is make sure that you're delivering the energy, saying the right thing, asking the right questions. It's then completely up to them creatively to put that into a package, to make sure they're happy with the shot. And that's for us as creators, it's a completely hands-off experience. Like I've probably done a lot less presenting than you, but when I've done it, I have enjoyed and unenjoyed it because I'm a bit of a
control freak.
Well, control freak, and so I'm sitting there going, "That's a shit shot," and they get pissed off with me because I'm like, "Guys, what if we do it like this?"
I know, I still do that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you still try and get involved with the creative process a bit.
I'll either try and input in terms of framing,
Yeah,
try and find a good
yeah.
angle. And sometimes when they're just going out and getting a bunch of B-roll, a bunch of sort of atmospheric shots and all of that sort of stuff, I'm like, why don't we go that way? Why don't we do that? And even down to the actual creative of the episode, I'll be sent a plan, and then I'm like, actually, I don't know anything about this motorsport, so let's try and put a bit more of that in, so that if the viewer are watching new to the motorsport, especially with drag racing, I want to bring them on my own journey as well of experiencing that weekend for the first time and experiencing some of these cars have got like 11,000 brake horsepower.
I think you have to as well. Like, even if you're presenting, I think you still have to bring some authenticity. Yeah, I think you have.
Authenticity.
Mate, I told you, I'm clueless. But you have to try and bring some of that, because if it's just like scripted, and you know, I hate watching scripted stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the
it's
Top Gear when Jeremy Clarkson and all that lot left, and it was Chris Evans, Matt LeBlanc, and
it's the worst thing ever.
Everyone
mate.
could see how scripted it was.
Yeah,
and no one bonded with it.
The thing is, because original Top Gear was heavily scripted too. The point being the natural chemistry and the improvisation lay true. Now, I'm going to enter your guys' world for 2 seconds here because it comes up on my TikTok a lot, and I actually quite enjoy it.
That's not our world.
No, hold on a sec. Whatever show it is where Thierry Henry, Micah Richards, and there's a girl that presents it as well.
It's Kate Abdo, she's very good.
It's the American.
CBS. CBS.
CBS football. What is it? A pre-game show, or what is
Champions
it?
League.
It's the Champions League show. It's punditry. It's kind of like the pre-intra post.
Fine. So
it's very good.
But the thing that comes across in the clips that get sent my way, God knows why, because I'm definitely not watching football content. It is pure chemistry.
Yeah.
So there's obviously, she, I guess, is the anchor trying to keep it all together.
Trying to control them.
But that part of it is purely down to them being allowed to have that chemistry and share it. And some sports, some TV shows really get that right. It's much harder to do when you're by yourself. But
I also think that show works well, is because I think she's very scripted and she'll have a producer in her ear and stuff. But I think the pundits, Thierry Henry and Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards, I think they just react to watch, a bit like you and I. You know, you have a lot more thought in this than me, and I just blurt out a load of old crap.
and then he goes with the flow.
No, he's got to try and spend an hour to control me. And I think that's exactly what them lads do. I think that there's obviously points they have to get across, obviously, but I think the way it goes, they're way less scripted.
Of course, because they are essentially the experts, right? So they've got not only got to react to her and what she's being told and the way that she's carrying the conversation, but they're also reacting to what's going on on the football pitch.
Sure.
Because they're the experts, right? So they're also giving the viewer analysis in a way that the viewer can understand without having to either be like an ex-professional footballer and sometimes I watch their show because they're able to break it down to someone who plays football but not to a standard that can kind of really understand the tactics.
The thing is as well is that she is very, very good at her job, by the way, as well. And that really makes a difference, because you watch some of these, I'm not just talking about football, I'm talking about in general. You watch some of these presenters and then just not as good. So she gets the points across, and she's controlling three early men that have their own opinion, and she's very, very. And there's a lot of presenters like that as well, but she's particularly very good at it.
That's why she's got the job.
Yeah.
I guess the hard part is, as we enter that world, or as you enter that world, is how much of yourself do you give away as well? Because you're hired as a presenter there, and obviously various crews sometimes will have a director, producer, a scriptwriter, cameraman, sound, varying levels of size of crew. If you're then starting to try and get involved in that creative process, hey, look, it might be great, but you're not being paid to do that.
100%.
And sometimes you run the risk of either stepping on toes, and some director being like, that's fucking YouTuber, just trying to tell me how to film stuff, but also ending up, which I've made the mistake of doing sometimes, of running the shoot inadvertently, or giving away great ideas, or doing something.
But then also, it comes down to you feel responsible if it doesn't go well.
I've literally seen you do that as well, by the way. I've seen you do that probably 2 or 3 times where where we've been on events and he literally tries to take over.
Yeah.
No, but it's the right thing to do because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, of course.
But I've seen it.
But
firsthand.
You say it's the right thing to do. Business-wise, you've got to be careful because I say that's not what you're being paid to do.
No.
And this is the hard thing: is we're coming from a world where we are in control of the overall creative, and you're stepping into a world where it's similar, same thing. Cameras, you're presenting, it's the same vibe, but there's another crew there, and so obviously you want the general output to be good. You want to be involved. It's hard not to be involved, but sometimes you just have to sit back and be like, it's their show.
Yeah.
If you want my creative input, then actually I need to come on as a producer. Feel like it's a weird move, but I think that's the thing. If you're gonna, so are we gonna see less of you on Supercars of London? Is this a transition to 2024, or is this just something that you're playing around with, doing alongside? What's the?
Oh yeah, 100% alongside.
Okay,
because there is still very particular strands of content that I absolutely love filming, being involved in the creative element, not so much actually the editing side of it. So some of the videos that I've done recently, I've not actually edited. And it's something that I'm really trying to step away from because it wasn't why I got involved in YouTube in the first place. It's something that I've had to kind of inherit and learn as a skill. And by no means is it even a skill in my repertoire. I'm terrible at editing. But I was always wanting to just go out, film cars, experience the emotion, the sound, and the speed of the cars, whether that be in Monaco, London, California. I mean, London's slightly different now, but the general car spotting and also the sort of driving road trips, that element of it, I kind of see it quite similar to the Grand Tour, right? As they kind of wanted to evolve their show, but they needed to stick to what they knew to begin with to kind of carry over that audience from Top Gear. But it was quite clear that actually all we all wanted to see was the road trips, watching them travel across somewhere, doing multiple challenges, buy cars, this, that, and the other. So for me, it's kind of trying to figure out where I can slot that filming in, where I can go on road trips. I am trying to buy another car alongside Mahare, which honestly there's so many moving parts at the moment. I've just sold my flat, so we're trying to buy a house. All of that life admin crap that I will never bore my audience with. But it's a fun roller coaster.
So I would agree with you. I think the best stuff they did on Grand Tour was when they've done these recent specials in the last few years away from the show.
And actually, I'm not talking about this as a career move, but what Clarkson has done with his farm, I kind of go, oh, well, I actually just launched a wildlife page.
Coming soon.
Coming Supercars of London.
Zoo. You mentioned London has changed from the spotting scenes, that going out and what has changed for you in London? Because obviously Supercars of London, I think a lot of people who know your channel know that's where it began. That's how I first met you. So why is London in your mind different now?
Well, how old do I want to feel, basically? Because so I started filming in London before social media. So I could walk around any corner of any street and there might be a supercar parked up there. Now, with the likes of Instagram, and it has been like this for 10 years maybe, is you've seen every single car in London either parked up or driving before you actually see it with your own eyes.
And I don't think anyone cares anymore.
Well,
like they used to.
No.
That's the problem.
I think they do. I think they do, because you do see it's a slightly different. It's not a 10-minute YouTube video now. It's almost gone back to how I started to film, a 30-second clip of a car accelerating or starting up and revving and annoying the residents. But it all just lives on TikTok and Instagram Reels because there's 100% an audience for it. But it's massively changed. So I don't necessarily get the same thrill or excitement because I've already seen the car on Instagram before I see it with my own eyes. So I'm kind of already desensitized to that shock and excitement of seeing a car.
That's my point, though. That's why I think no one cares anymore, because you've
there's
hit
so
the nail
many
on the
people
head.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you've already seen the car on Instagram, and then you film it. Like no one cares.
Yeah.
It's like the YouTubers buying and selling cars.
Yeah.
No one cares, mate.
Yeah.
But do you also think there's an element where, given what we've done over the last 10 years or so, freaking hell, Paul, like you must have driven, been around almost every super or hypercar. I mean, I remember one of the first few trips we did, literally driving 4 hours out of the way to go and find a Veneno in a...
in Dusseldorf.
In Dusseldorf, we were properly hunting cars back then, where now, because you've been around these things, not only would you have likely seen a car on Instagram before you actually see it in the person, so if you drive past a hotel, you know what's in that car park because you scrolled in the morning. Lots of people have taken the photos. But not only that, if there is something new that you didn't know, you've probably seen it already. So if a Chiron is there, in the life that you've led, you have seen so many Chirons and been around Chirons and sat in Chiron, that you're like, oh, there's a Chiron.
Yeah.
Whereas 6 or 7 years ago, you would have gone, oh my God, it's a freaking Chiron.
How many conversations have we had driving out of Monaco where we go and turn to each other, what car would we actually do a U-turn for to chase back into Monaco? 7 years ago, it probably was a Chiron or some sort of hypercar. And now the bar is so high, it's like an AMG 1. It's got to be a Valkyrie
I wouldn't turn
AMR.
around for nothing.
No, of course you wouldn't.
I
You're not
literally
car
wouldn't
spotter.
turn around.
But I wouldn't either now.
Yeah.
I genuinely wouldn't either now. And there have been a few occasions where crazy stuff has come past me or I've seen.
And you've gone, oh, that's cool.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, and the worst one was we went to Paris 18 or so months ago. We were heading to a wedding and stayed at a super nice hotel at the Peninsula in Paris. And I came out from checking in and there were 2 Chirons and a 6x6 G-Wagon. We were walking out to lunch and I literally came out of the hotel, kept walking, and Vicky said, you know, let's take a picture. And I was like, no, I'm all right.
No, I don't care.
She's like, what is going on?
And the problem is, Paul, as well, you'll be so desensitized to it. So when you go to make that content, it shows.
Yeah.
Because you're just
100%.
because you're so saturated because you've been doing it for so long.
Which is why I think one of the reasons why I've bought the R8 that I bought, I actually wanted the V8. And the V10 just kind of slotted into the sort of price range that I was looking for. I didn't really want the V10, but the cars that I look at to buy are cars that I've either driven, owned, or have good memories with, so that I can go back to that nostalgia. Exactly.
Life's crap. Let's go back to the glory years. Let's go to Monaco. Come on, call up Seb.
I'll buy an MG GTS. You buy an F-Type. Let's go.
Sold.
Another F-Type.
Tony, I'll sell it to you in 6 months' time. Don't worry. You can pay Opus for some content.
Hell yeah.
I'll start a podcast with you, mate.
Why did I do that? I mean, this is how it all started. Fucking hell.
Oh, look, I get it. I think, there's definitely, I'm the same, it's hard. We're long in the tooth. Tony talks about it all the time here on the show that, we're a car podcast where he spends a lot of the time snagging off cars, and we are going to move on people to car news in a moment. But I think, overexposure is so easy in any industry, in any walk of life. Don't get us wrong. We are car people. We still get buzzers. I've been with Paul in recent years when we've been in Monaco, been in London, and something has happened and something has got you excited, which is maybe out of character and maybe it's not a 10-minute or 12-minute or 15-minute worth YouTube video, but you've got buzzed. But trust me, it's not what you would expect. So it would be a Gallardo SE final edition. And I'm like,
no
and he's
idea.
freaking
I've
out.
still got a photo of him and the Gallardo SE.
I'm literally like, I don't know what he's doing. And he has a panic attack about it. So it still exists for all of us.
Let me see if I can get this up.
It's just, it's harder to achieve. And I think the point being, back in the day, you would make a 7 to 15 minute long video of just driving around, looking at cars, talking about cars on the street. That is harder for you to achieve. So what is your YouTube content now? If it's not that, that's why the presenting, I think, for you makes sense, right?
because I think there's an element of I'm being thrown into a world that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the high performance, luxury, prestige performance cars is, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, kind of like autopilot for me. I can get in, like, we're all lucky enough to have or know what a Lamborghini is like to drive, a Ferrari is like to drive. And I know that I can get in. I literally guessed when I went and drove the Urus Performante for the first time, I literally knew what that car was going to feel like before I'd even driven it, because I knew what a Urus drove like and I knew what a Urus S drove like. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a slightly firmer, slightly more sensitive, faster version. And it was exactly that. It literally met the expectations. It's when, for me, either cars come out that go beyond what I'm expected, and I think this Hurricane replacement is probably going to be that. That car is going to be absolutely mental. Or I drive a car from that sort of sweet decade where I feel like cars were at their best, and there's going to be generations above us that will probably think that they were in the 90s or the 80s. You know, like we all have that era of car that brings back all of those memories.
But that's nostalgia, mate. That's not,
exactly,
that's
exactly
not facts. Because
I literally took the most photos. I'm showing Sam and Tony a picture of a 2004 Gallardo. It still had a tape player in the center console. It was manual. And I was like, that would be absolute hell to drive around Monaco. But at the same time, to see a first generation Gallardo in almost like its original form as if it was from the factory, which is now 20 years old, for me is like really, really exciting. So I still have that car spotter in me.
It's just
but
harder
like you said,
to activate.
It's not harder to activate. It's harder to turn something like that into a 7 to 10 minute video.
Yeah, fine. Well, look, let's not end on a depressing note. What has been the most exhilarating or exciting car experience you've had in the last 6 months? What has made you go, that was awesome, or that was exciting? It doesn't have to be driving. It can be a car spot, or go on, just give us a good story so that we don't leave off thinking that Paul Wallace now hates cars.
No. Like, in stereotypical form, it was probably seeing a Rev Welto for the first time. Okay. So that will actually probably be tattooed in my brain now, just like the first time I ever saw an Aventador on the road or a Murcielago. I still remember the first time I saw
that's because you're a big Lambo
exactly,
fan.
That's what I mean. Like, it's probably a little bit stereotypical of me to say, but I just finished a run in Monaco. I never take my phone when I go for a run, but for whatever reason, I took my phone, and I finished at the end of the tunnel in reverse. So obviously I was up closer towards the Fairmont.
The Formula One tunnel?
The Formula One tunnel in Monaco. I was at the Fairmont end rather than the harbour end.
Sure.
And I heard this noise come down the hill, and I was like, what the hell is that? I've never heard that before. So it was, again, like this new experience. I couldn't identify what the car was, and I just saw these headlights come around the corner. I was like, oh my God, it's a Rev Welto. But you'll see the video in the Instagram clip, there's a bus trying to pull out. I step out in front of the bus to stop the bus from coming so that I can film the Rev Welto come round the corner.
That's commitment, really, to be fair.
That's Instagrammers in the wild, what it's called. Influencers in the wild, yeah. Bloody hell. Okay.
And so seeing that, I mean, when I saw the launch of that car, I was like, wow, that's like a spaceship for the road. They've done the Aventador justice in terms of bringing this into the 2020s, whatever the years are, and actually seeing it on the road for the first time was really cool.
Got you buzzed. What were your thoughts, Tony, when we saw the Rev Welto at gathering supercars in Porto?
Well, you know my thoughts, mate. I mean, I barely just went, oh, what's the new... But I was more excited when I first saw the... Yeah, I know, yeah. I was more excited when I first saw the Aventador.
Yeah, okay.
Than when I saw the Rev Welto.
However many years ago, when you were probably a little bit more excited by the automotive industry in general.
Yeah. Maybe I couldn't have been less bothered.
And you haven't driven the Rev Welto yet, right?
No, I'm going to drive it beginning of July.
Oh, amazing. Okay, I
want to drive it. I'd love to drive it.
I haven't heard anyone yet talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want someone to tell me what it's actually like. Anyway, let's move on, because we're going to fit in some car news to this. We've got some stuff to talk about, weird stuff to talk about. So firstly, BMW have come out with another one of these bizarre concept-y style production type cars. So it's called the Skytop. It launched at Villa d'Este, which they're big partners of. It's where they launched the Rolls-Royce Sweptail, things like that.
Well, that's cool.
I mean, it actually is a fairly good-looking BMW. It does look concept-like.
You can tell it's a BMW, though, can't you?
That interior is on the...
It's
on everything.
It has a sort of 8 Series vibe.
8 Series is one of my favourite cars.
I mean, what was that one that came out recently that was like the 3.0 CSL, tribute car?
Yeah.
It's sort of like that. So BMW are clearly doing these super limited, really expensive, almost
Putting engines in them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to run. I mean, it's going to be. I think. Let's see how many they're going to make. There was a line somewhere that said that it will be.
Oh,
it's
they're going to
possibly
name it the Z8.
That'd be
Z8,
quite outrageous.
yeah.
That's cool.
8 Series based car was officially revealed at the Villa d'Este and uses the M8's 4.4 litre V8 with 626 horsepower.
That's cool.
It is Z8 inspired with several design nods to the 2000s car. We made 50 pieces of that, like the CSL.
So it'd be like
Super limited.
750k.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. For a
And
BMW.
they all sold right, those CSL things.
That's what they put the price at, and then they'll probably give about 50% at a discount.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess go for it. Do you think BMW have the what's it called cachet to do these super bespoke, super high end cars?
I think anyone currently thinking about the future 10, 15 years of the automotive industry that are building collections of cars that will obviously be worth a lot of money, whether you're collecting Ferraris, like all of these limited edition cars, if you look at like the Bentley, like the Batur and all of these cars that manufacturers are building in super limited numbers, if you've got unlimited money, you'll just buy it and put it in the collection.
But does that give it value? Because for me, right, Speciale Aperta has way more future value than that. Because that is going to go into a collection. It's never going to be driven.
Yeah, it's just a museum piece.
Yeah, it's only ever going to be bought by people as, well, BMW only made 50 of them and they launched it at Villa d'Este. It's actually just an M8 with a funny body. But wow, what a thing. Yeah. So, for example, if I go to a museum now, if Porsche in the Porsche Museum have a concept car that was unveiled at the 1980 World Fair that, I'm like, but show me 991, which actually had the engine from the 959 Le Mans, then I'm like, oh, cool. Like that BMW X5 with the Le Mans car engine in it. That for me is so much cooler than. So I don't know. I don't really get these.
No, I don't, but it's not at my price range.
No. It's just a body.
Yeah.
It's a pretty body, but it's just a body.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And the M8 is probably going to be a more.
I don't think it's that good looking. Everyone was freaking out saying, best looking BMW for years. I'm a bit like,
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of weird looking cars and overpriced, let's talk about this.
Oh my God.
The Mercedes, what's it called? Pure Speed.
What is that car?
Yeah.
So
they have lost the plot.
Well, the thing is, right, we all know basically where this came from. It was Bushmeister?
Yeah. I
So-
sent it into the group, didn't I?
Yeah, there was an independent company which did this with the previous generation AMG GTR.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, AMG GTR.
How much is it? We don't know.
I don't think we know yet.
I thought that they were going in AMG unofficial Mercedes Speedster. The
Yeah.
Yikes.
What's it called?
Is it Yikes?
No.
I mean, if they make 40 or 50 of them, they'll probably sell them.
Bussing. Bussing.
Speed Legend.
There you go. Speed Legend. The Speed Legend was done by an independent guy, and they've basically just stolen the idea, but I think executed it worse.
Yeah.
Also, how many people really want? I'm actually going to say how many people want these windscreenless cars. Monza sold pretty well, didn't it?
But that's Ferrari.
So yeah, this was done by Bussing. This was an independent thing. A guy just wanted to do it, and I think he went and built a certain number of these cars. And Mercedes have come along and launched it on the new version of the SL. I don't know. I just think it looks silly. I mean, saying it's an F1 inspired Halo.
It looks awkward.
Visually inspired by the Mercedes AMG 1. Here we go.
Apart from the back, looks like a GTR.
Yeah, as Autocar previously reported, it's based on the SL63 Formatic, which
So
is
it's really heavy.
577 horsepower. Mercedes announced that it will build just 250 examples of the Pure Speed available to the most dedicated Mercedes-Benz enthusiasts. Watch out, Shmee 150 will be unveiling his in the weeks to come. Radically open, neither a roof nor the windscreen separate the two passengers from the elements. I mean,
If they launched that or a version of that at the end of, I don't know, the 2020 F1 season after Lewis Hamilton wins another world championship, I think people would care more.
Yeah, but it just seems on the wrong colour. The SLR Sterling Moss kind of made sense.
Yeah, this is like a GT sports car. They've just taken the whole roof off. I don't particularly think it looks that good.
Or the windscreen off because it's an SL. I think it looks odd. I think it's a money grab attempt, isn't it? And it's also, as I say, from that bussing car, the Speed Legend thing, it's just a rip-off. It's just like, well, somebody else has done this and made a load of money off it. Let's do it ourselves, which we've seen over and over again from the same
all the while. Yeah, that's what they do.
So it's funny that the Germans are really getting involved in this world. Let's make these super bespoke, sort of low production, coach worked kind of editions to sell to our customers. They've clearly seen Ferrari, Lamborghini, okay, fine, Porsche are German as well, but some of these manufacturers do this and think, well, why aren't we doing it? We're Mercedes, we're BMW.
We can do it at a lesser price.
Yeah, Audi have done it with that.
How much do you reckon
RS6.
that costs to make, Tony?
Oh, mate, don't get me started.
10 quid.
30 grand.
Like, you'd like literally no more than an AMG GTR. Literally, mate. It's just a complete rip-off. I mean, the margin would be through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. And then I thought a positive news story that you'd enjoy, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Alfa Romeos to switch to centrally mounted number plates.
Oh.
So, as a Stelvio Quadrifoglio owner, something which has just ruined recent Alfa Romeos has been the offset number plates. Apparently, it's been such a point of contention.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to put it in the middle now by the nose.
They're going to put it in the middle.
By the nose?
Well,
that's going to ruin the look of it.
I guess for future models. It says future Alfa Romeo models, including the next generation Giulia and Stelvio, will end a long brand tradition by featuring centrally mounted number plates due to new pedestrian safety regulations. The offset placement enables Alfa's triangular Scudetto grille to be seen unobscured.
Well, the only other car that I can think of that has is Bugatti, right? But they have off-centered number plate
offset number plates
as well
to protect their grille.
They're going to change the grille, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to change the grille. It's obviously still going to be that triangle, but they're just going to put like an F-type splash across the middle. They'll carve it up.
Or they'll make it really big like a BMW, and then actually the number plate looks better in the middle of it.
Yeah,
like the M3.
You're probably right. Yeah, from that point of view.
Yeah.
I think it looks good.
It's obviously traditional, so it doesn't upset me that much. I mean, they look amazing with no front number plates on. But
I tried to get the new Stelvio Quadrifoglio from Alfa Romeo.
The updated one?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Because I wanted to compare.
You know they're a lot of money, don't you, now, to buy?
A lot of money.
They always were.
80 grand or something now.
Outrageous.
And this was obviously at the beginning of the year when they came to the UK. And they said, we'll be able to get it to you. There's a lot of demand for this car, so it's looking like it's going to be early to mid-spring. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, where are we looking? Beginning of April? End of April? And I got the dates, and it's the end of June.
End of June?
This year. So I've waited so long for this car to come, to the point now where I'm probably going to sell my Quadrifoglio because before the new one comes. So.
It does sometimes happen. It's the Maseratis often take a while to get their cars through as well.
Yeah. I think they're just operating on such low numbers of their fleet cars, and I was obviously just late to the party.
Just low on the list. Supercars of London. Isn't he presenting for the FIA nowadays?
I did get to see that 33 Stradale.
Yeah, it's cool, that thing.
It is cool.
Pretty looking car. It's a shame what's underneath it.
Well, that, and also I went to the factory to see it. Have you been
to the Alfa Romeo factory many times?
Yeah. Well,
it's not impressive, is it?
No.
It's a dump.
It definitely feels like it was made in the 1900s. Yeah.
I described it as an empty, unused hospital.
Oh God! I know which part of it you were in now.
And it's almost like everyone that works there puts all of their effort onto the paper to design the cars. Then the way that those cars drive is obviously forgotten about because, I mean, I can say that I'm an Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio owner, and it's not the best car to drive. And then there's just absolutely zero creativity outside of the rooms where the cars get designed. And
the bit that blows my mind is it is literally stuck in a time hole.
Yeah, but the whole of Turin is.
The whole of Turin is, but it's unbelievable given the size, well, especially as now Stellantis have stepped in. But, you know, Alfa Romeo, you look at all these other historic manufacturers, no matter what size, even look at Morgan, who've been through a renovation at their factory and HQ over the last few years. It's so like stepping into the 1960s in Italy. I mean, some of the offices, it's just stacks of paper, pornography all over the walls, pictures of the Pope. Pictures of the Pope.
I missed that bit.
Yeah. Old men in creaky chairs. It's a maze. Like getting around in a maze is a complete maze.
Whoever
it makes
designed
no
it,
sense.
honestly, I will try and get this footage because I walked around the corner it had proper signage to be like, you can go this way. And I walked around the corner and it was just a dead end with a bicycle on the floor. I was like, where am I?
But this is the thing, is like you would suspect that someone would have come in with one of these groups, FCA, Stellantis or whatever, who bought the company, would have gone, guys, this factory, I know it's historical. It makes no sense. We've got to rearrange things. Let's keep some historic buildings, but we've got to move the production line. No one's done it. They've just gone, we need another building for the wheels. Okay, over there, 10 miles away, no problem. Like, it's so back to front and so Italian. I kind of adore it, but I'm also like, this is just ridiculous. Yeah. It's a bit of a shame, but I do love the brand. Well, anyway, I mean, that kind of wraps up all the car news. That's all. Any other car news that anyone wanted to mention? No? No? Okay, fine.
No.
Which I guess brings an end to episode 1 of season 7. Paul, thank you so much for coming to join us. What's next? What, apart from presenting for the FAA, what else is on the agenda?
He's going to go back to sleep.
Yeah. It was an early start.
Go back to bed.
Yeah.
I've got... I'll come back either the end of season 7 or the beginning of season 8 because
2 years
the
time.
last time that I started to reveal stuff before the plans were in place, it all fell by the wayside.
Fair. Okay, don't say a thing. Are you driving any cars soon?
Yeah. Well, Revuelto, Spectre.
Spectre's a vibe.
I know. I'm really looking forward to that.
Are you going anywhere in it?
I've got it for 3 days, so I probably will, or as far as the range can take me. The one car that I'm also really looking forward to driving is the RS7 Performance.
Why?
Well, firstly, the RS7 is like my dream car.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
What? RS7.
Why?
Yeah, love it.
That's weird. Is the Performance the one with 23 more horsepower?
I thought you were going to say 23-inch wheels, which I think it probably
Well,
does.
it does, yeah.
But yeah, so I drove it out in the States
Right.
for the first time, and we got put on roads that I didn't think particularly suited that car.
What do you think British roads suit a 6-ton, 400-foot long?
I'm really excited, Sam. Don't bring it down.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm shitting on your dreams. Yeah.
You and I will get really excited about it to the point where... No, you're not going to see it, but the new Continental GT.
Oh yes, yeah. I'm not going to see it, but I can't wait to see it.
No, I like that car.
Yeah, that'll be a vibe, right? We talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah.
Just the teaser images. It looks
It's only going to be a
Batter-esque.
facelift, though, right?
No, it is the new generation. It's going to be
'cause
all
it's got a new engine.
Yeah, all new, but it will look familiar.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because
yeah.
it will look like a mix between that and the Continental GT, I think.
Yeah.
But this summer, obviously, we've got Hurricane Replacement 992.2.
992.2, by the way, which by the time you're listening to this will have been revealed. Tony and I will talk about that next week.
Okay.
We didn't want to ruin your life. But we'll end on this without now knowing all the details. Just in general, I assume you're pretty pro the idea of a hybrid 911, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
You're into your Porsches in a different way, Tony. Why? Just because it's more usable, more...
Yeah, I think it will be a better 911 to the 992.1, as in it will be faster. It will probably be easier around town. And then obviously you're going to have all of that technology going into the GTS and then further up. I don't know, will they do a hybrid NA GT3 or what?
As I say, we'll save it for properly next week once we know all the information. But I'm assuming, or what I'd heard of, this will be embarrassing if it's completely wrong, is that the Carrera will be NA, the S, the GTS, the Turbo S will be hybrid.
Oh, can you imagine a Turbo S hybrid?
The
You're way too
GT
fast.
3 and 3RS will be NA, and
Yeah.
the 2RS will be hybrid. That was the
Hybrid turbo.
hybrid turbo. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what car I am
The
driving
2RS
soon?
will be
It'd be
absolute
way too fast.
piss take.
Yeah.
Go on, what car are you driving soon?
Boxer Spider RS.
Oh, what a car. I haven't driven that in the UK yet.
If you can
What
get the
a
roof
car.
off.
When are you
Try and get the
driving
roof
that?
off.
I'm hoping early part of next month.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate.
I'm so because obviously
It's
when
such a cool car.
when 718 Boxer Spider came out, I was like, I want one. Tried to buy one. Turned out I needed to buy a lot of Porsches first.
Yeah. Sadly, that is the game. Actually, you need to buy a lot of Porsches and then still not get one. Conversation for another episode. Yeah.
And then when I saw, because I got offered a GT4 RS, thinking, no, but this is how low down in the Porsche world I am, because I got told it was a speccable car.
Sure.
And then it had obviously filtered down from like a dealer principal that actually it was a used car that they were buying back in. So I then got like this huge like extra price added to it. I was like, no, I'm not interested. But if there are any Boxer Spider RSs at list, and it went silent.
Yeah. That's a wicked car.
I'm really looking forward to driving it, yeah.
Yeah, let me know what it's like in the UK, because that's the one thing which I haven't done yet. I'm actually supposed to be getting potentially into another 4RS in the weeks ahead, and we were laughing about this before we started recording, because I was like, oh God, I've been so rude about that car. But Spider-RS, I'd be keen to find out. Okay, well, look, have fun, enjoy. Thank you so much for coming and helping us kickstart this season. For those of you listening, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed having Paul back on the show. If you want to follow his adventures, go to the FIA. No, I'm joking. At Supercars of London or at Wallace PJW on most social media platforms. Tony is at Tony Gravelwood Car Sales. I'm at Seen Through Glass, and this podcast is at Behind the Glass __ podcast. Yes, Tony and I will be back with you next week for a bit more of a cruise show talking about, that 992.2. We will see you then. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.